Hello and welcome to episode 49 of Downunder The Ring podcast. I'm your host, the Warship, and we got stuff to talk about today. We got a revolution to talk about. We got a PLE to talk about. We got a, hey, let's roll it early, an LA Knight moment of the week to talk about. And also, man, that pay-per-view, we're going to talk about that in detail because I have some words to say, but I'm sure you do as well. Phid, how are you doing?
Not too bad, brother. Not too bad at all. It's been a busy week. Had a lot going on. Got my head stuck in a lawnmower somewhere and lost all my hair
Yes,
in the last 7 days.
I got the same thing going on here.
It's been crazy. I've been going to events and stuff and had work stuff going on, but I have also managed to stay up to date with what's happening with the wrestling this week, which is dope. And we've had some crazy stuff happen in the last 48 hours has been a pretty big few days, a couple of days for wrestling.
I feel like it's kind of just been non-stop since Rumble, right?
Yeah.
I feel like, in between all of the stuff that we've just spoken about, on top of that, also 2K25 is something in the wrestling world that has been knocking on all cylinders every week. No matter what it is, there's just been something. So it's been a wild time. And not just for the streaming space or the wrestling space, but a culmination of kind of both those things. So obviously right now you've got a bunch of creators doing the big old 2K25 Let's Plays and whatnot. You've got a lot of that going on. Every time I look at a wrestling post now, I don't know if it's a wrestling post or if it's a video game post because that's how it's getting.
Close up on the face and then you're like,
yeah. That being said, obviously I did load up 2K25, these ones. I did load up 2K25 and the only thing that I've done so far is put a Wyatt 6 versus Bray Wyatt matchup at Elimination Chamber in Perth because I wanted to see the venue, but I also wanted to see how their entrance went, and it was interesting. So
I do have questions for you because I've installed it. I only installed it today and I haven't had a chance to play it yet. What does the Perth arena look like?
Yeah, it looks like it. Like their entrance is just a big screen,
Exactly like it was.
Pretty far away from the ring. And, obviously they use the power of video games, so they're not walking for 18 years to get to the actual thing.
Yeah.
But
they've learned how to defy Undertaker time.
Yeah. And look, it comes up okay. We are in that particular entrance. We start with the chair, and the chair's just there, and the lantern's on the chair, and then we see people slowly get it, and we get in there, and then it's a really awkward bit where Sister Abigail, help, where she sits down. Mickey, that's it. Yeah. When Nikki Cross sits down, and it's just really abrupt and out of nowhere, and then Taylor sits down, and everyone else is there, even if you only select 3 members of the 6, all of them are there. And then he sits down, and that does the thing that happens on shows where he blows out the thing, and then they rush the ring, even if he's in the match. So it's interesting. And then for the Bray entrance, it's weird because they do the Firefly Funhouse bit first because there's 2 versions. The version that I tried is the 2023 concept version of him because I wanted to see how that looked in game. And in that one,
so is that the concept one they never got to use?
Yeah. So they put that in the game.
I didn't realize they put that in the game. That's amazing.
Yeah, which is awesome. And they really big it up too. Like Corey talks about, like this is a new version of the Fiend has been unleashed, and it's like really interesting. But when the actual thing happens, there's something wrong in the way that the entrance videos happen because it'll play the Firefly, all that, and then it does the "Let me in" that whole thing. But then somewhere in the camera panning back down to the Fiend, it recycles back to the Firefly Funhouse bright colors. Yeah. And then when it comes to him, it's the right one. It was really weird to see because it was like, just a strange back and forth. But then they've given the new lantern as well. It's like a really big version of his head, and like it's the whole mouth one as well. So that was really interesting to see. That's really all I've done. The menus to me feel like an old wrestling game. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but there's like picture at the top, and then at the bottom there's like squares, and they're just like all the options, and it really feels like that old sort of. It reminds me of WWE Raw for the Xbox One, not the Xbox One, but just the Xbox.
Yeah,
it reminds me of that.
Wow.
That was the nostalgia feeling I got just from going into the menus.
Well, I've got a question for you. Once I get it all loaded up and I've spent a couple of days making my creator wrestler, which it'll take me a couple of days, should we do a live stream?
Oh, absolutely. Don't get me started on oh my God, the amount of hours I spent on the 2K24 on the wrestling, like my custom one, and then you can't transfer the bitch in there at all.
You can't transfer them.
No, so you can't go from 2K24 to 2K25. You can't import the wrestler. I feel like you should be able to.
The longest part for me was putting all of my tattoos on my creator.
And well, yeah, exactly. And for me, because it was my actual wrestling gear, I put so much of that into it. Like I actually took photos and then used Illustrator to like isolate the logos and do all of that, and then transparencies so that I could put it on there. Apparently this time around you can't even do that anymore. So that's an interesting thing. But yeah, like other than that, so far it seems really good. It seems real good.
Yeah, maybe we have to go live on the Warship Twitch.
We have to go live there too.
Eh?
Why is that?
No. We'll stream it.
Oh yeah, play. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that for sure. Definitely keen on that. We will. Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll figure out a day to do it, and we'll go. 100%. Yeah.
While we're talking about things, before we get into the all the wrestling from this week, what I did want to have a chat to everyone about is we're coming up to episode 50. We're coming up to episode 50. It's coming up pretty fast. I want to put it out there to everyone to make some suggestions, what you'd like us to talk about or do for episode 50. Is there something special we can do? Is there something different?
Obviously, it has to sit within TOS. So we can't get like maggot. We can't get absolutely and utterly just spifflicated drunk. We can't do that. Right. As long as it's in TOS, Phid can't take his shirt off. I can't take my pants off. There are rules that we have to abide by. But outside of that, I'm pretty keen for whatever you guys want to do as well.
And I'm just going to put a little teaser out there. We have got some changes on the horizon that are going to maybe coincide with this episode 50.
There's a new logo, and it's really good. And you haven't seen it yet, but it's really good. I mean, what? There's nothing, actually. It's going to be cool. But, yeah, we're planning a lot of changes, a lot of new stuff coming. We're going to be looking
at a lot of stuff that we've been planning for a wee while. And I just think episode 50 is a nice round number for us to drop all the changes at once.
Going to be a lot of stuff that you're used to kind of seeing, but also in different formats. And we're working on maybe you'll see some of our friends. You know, we're really glad that you're our friend. But we got to get some more ones, you know, some new ones, some old ones. Who knows at this point? But the format's going to be a bit different. We're still going to be doing this thing here in whatever version it is. Will still be this thing here. We'll still be doing the podcast itself. There may just be some slight additions to it.
Exactly.
It's exciting.
Let's jump right in though. I want to start things off with AEW Revolution because look. We've said this before. We used to be a show that was about 50-50. At one stage, we had 2 shows a week because we talked about both brands a lot. We've talked about AEW a lot less over the last 12 months, I'd say. But I want to really talk about this pay-per-view because, and we've said this before, we've said it over and over again, Tony Khan doesn't miss when it comes to pay-per-views, right?
No.
He puts on bangers. Arguably, they might drag out a wee bit, but the 99% of the time he hits, right? And I would say that almost every match hit on this pay-per-view. And there was one in particular that I can't sing the praises of enough, and it's our mate, Toni Storm, Australia's own. Friend of the show. She's been on our show twice now.
We love Tony. Tony's Tony's a very good friend in the real world.
Yeah.
Awesome person. Super, super grateful and super glad to see the flowers being given at this point. Before we really touch on that, because I could do that for ages as well, there's something that I want to mention as well as maybe an overarching thing we will talk about more as we go through. But one thing that I want to talk about is there's this really strange thing that I've been noticing lately when it comes to wrestling media and AEW. I've noticed it with WWE as well, usually in the opposite direction. So what I noticed, especially today, I do my scour, because I work and then I come home, I watch what I watch, and then we go from there. So I do my scour during the day. And there are a couple of websites. I won't name them directly. They are my favorites, though. So if you know me, you probably know which ones I'm talking about. And they do a full review of the show as it happens. Now, on a typical WWE pay-per-view, we're getting C grades, we're getting B grades, maybe 1A. If you are absolutely lucky, we're getting an A grade, right? That is pretty consistent. It kind of gives me an idea of how the show's going to go. It kind of gives me an idea, of what to expect when it comes to a typical Raw or SmackDown or PLE. When it comes to this AEW show, there's not a low grade in there. It's all A's, A pluses, B's, B pluses. The worst grade was the main event. We'll talk about that as well later.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But I noticed a trend where it's like, this match really missed the mark for me. There was this problem, B plus. If that was a WWE show, it would be like a D. Like I don't know if it's just this like culture we've built around AEW being the wrestling company and WWE being the global monster that it is. But I'm really starting to notice this trend where it's like WWE, the matches, not good.
Yeah.
AEW can do no wrong on the matches, except for Moxley matches. And that's the general vibe I'm getting. I just think it's a little bit toxic.
And Jericho matches.
And Jericho matches, absolutely. Also, quick shout, it wasn't a match, but the dude, he still knows what he's doing. He absolutely still knows what he's doing. But I don't know. I just noticed it. It's a bit of a it's more toxic than it has been. And I don't know if that's because we're getting so much more wrestling now and it's all really good that people are finding something to fucking complain about. But yeah, it really stuck out to me today. And it usually doesn't.
I think you actually hit the nail on the head there with, I think what we've done as wrestling fans, and I'm putting myself in this boat as well, is we have definitely associated AEW as being the wrestlers' wrestling show where if you want good wrestling, you go to AEW. If you want great storytelling, long-term storytelling, massive production, you go to WWE. And I think people sort of, especially the people that do these ratings and these rankings and these reviews, they're not the casual viewer, right? They are a hardcore fan. So they probably are going to skew more towards an AEW style of wrestling. But in saying that, I agree with you, where especially when you see a match like Punk and Rollins this week, and we'll get into that later, when you do see those, right, that should be a very highly rated match, in my opinion.
Yeah. We're not talking C, Yeah. Like, we're not talking a C grade for one of those matches. Pretty much no matter what you do. We shouldn't. But when it comes around, you find that they do.
Yeah. Well, see, this is actually why I don't like doing like a rating on our show, is because we're going to lose track of the rating system.
Yeah, so far we've had like Vegemite scrolls. We just what was it?
We attempted. We made an attempt.
Barbecue sausages, Bunnings snags.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of things we tried, and it just didn't. It was stupid. It was dumb. Yeah. It was real stupid.
But I prefer just talking about what I liked and
what we like is Tony Storm.
Let's talk about Tony Storm.
Let's talk about that right now.
Okay, so Tony Storm, that match, 1 flawless execution of this story from start to finish, right?
Yeah.
From the first All In London is where the story started.
Mm-hmm.
Which is phenomenal when you think about it, is that was when she turned on Soraya and started to lose her marbles. So this story has been going for over 2 years, or coming up 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's had so many highlights. I can't think of a single lowlight in this entire storyline.
No.
And then it's the first time in a long time I've seen a story where I felt we got a conclusion.
Yeah, look, I think that the batshit crazy part was a stroke of genius.
Yeah.
Like the last month and a half to 2 months of programming has been incredibly well done.
Yeah.
Even previous to that, everything leading up to it, just the entire timeless gimmick was feeding towards, if you have a movie, how does a movie finish? It has an ending. And that's the point of it. Now, the question is do we see, after we have closed the curtain on this, do we see a close on the character of Timeless Tony Storm? Because what could Tony do now that hasn't been done in this feud?
So I'm going to put my faith in RJ City here, because a lot of this angle has been produced by RJ. And I know that the guy is obsessive when it comes to Hollywood history and cinema and stuff like that. I have no doubt that he has a back catalogue of notebooks of ideas that he's like, I know where we're going to go next.
Yeah.
I think the fact that we've got an ending to this is so unique in the pro wrestling world, because we're so accustomed to it being a situation where you keep some windows open, you keep a few loose threads there because you can come back around to it.
Yeah.
Having an ending to a story, I think, is super unique, and I love it. And the match that brought us here, my God, I'm the guy on the show that is always, I don't like too much blood. I'm not a death match guy.
Yeah.
This was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. No, look, it really, really was. I guess what I'm saying is that now, when we've had all this stuff, how do we transition? Because I think it would be interesting to go through. We'd go through different eras now, So
start going through the decades of Hollywood.
Yeah, change Hollywood up a little bit. So rather than the black and white films, we start to transition away from that. I think that's probably the natural progression, personally.
Yeah. We can start going into like the blockbuster era.
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah, start going into the blockbuster era of movies, and then we can start going into the campy weirdness of the 70s and.
Yeah. I think that would be excellent, and we get Bond girl Tony Storm, things like that would just be incredible. So I am all for that, and again, all the love in the world, because you deserve it, and it's really, really cool to see you doing what you're doing at the level you're doing it. You should have been the main event.
And let us get to. And before we do that, credit to Mariah May as well, because
absolutely, yeah, we would be.
That dance would not have worked without a dance partner, and it was amazing.
Not to mention Mariah May
pulled off an amazing match.
Yeah, and it's full credit to the both of them as talent, that it's worked at the level that it's
even the side players in this, where especially when Tony was doing the throwback Tony era.
Yeah.
Everyone that sort of improved that little angle as well. Yeah. There was so many people involved in that. So, yeah, amazing. But 100%, this should have been the main event. It would have also brought a nice closure to the pay-per-view, having the
end there for the end of the pay-per-view. Excellent.
And I can't believe it wasn't, because out of everything that is happening on this show at the moment on AEW, and I'm not going to shit on all of the different storylines that are going on, but this is the storyline that has had the longest run time build up to this match.
Yeah, no,
it should have been the main event, just for that reason alone.
Speaking of shitting on things, let's shit on the main event.
Absolutely.
Because, man, that was a clusterfuck of a match. Like, honestly, it really, really was. I can't believe, even if it's not true, the idea that neither Mox nor Cope wanted to drop the fall. So what they did was they got Cope's bestie in to take the fall in the match.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it feels. I don't know if that's the truth, but that's from an outsider point of view, it looks like that's happened.
I was going to say, it's an outsider point of view, but for you, it's an outsider point of view knowing wrestler egos.
Yeah, and like, because there's a reason it's the main event. There's a reason why it had the two big players in it. You know, there's a lot going on for it. It should have been, honestly, it should have been fucking awesome. But
it should have been a banger.
It should have been an absolute banger, but there was so much interference. Also, let me just side tangent, because, you know, we haven't had one of these for a minute, but this is Shippy's rant of the week. As we're getting close to the 50 episodes, let's have a callback for a day. But who the fuck in 2025 books a fucking card where there is 13 motherfucking matches from start to finish? 13 fucking matches. What the fuck?
Honestly, I was stunned when I woke up in the morning and saw that the pre-show had already started.
And there was 4 matches on the pre-show.
Yeah.
And the fuck, I couldn't even push the button in time.
But yeah, it was an episode of Dynamite.
That's too many matches. Look, I understand we give a lot of shit to WWE right now. I'm pushing the button so much today. We give a lot of crass to the WWE for having a 5-match card on their PLEs. Yeah. But fuck me if it doesn't work. Like,
it does. It absolutely works. The flow of a WWE pay-per-view is so good. I mean, I think sometimes you could probably stretch it to a six match.
Look, 6 I think is the magic number. I think 6 is the magic number. I don't think they're quite there yet. We do get a segment usually every show, every major show. But 13 matches is cuckoo bonkers.
Yeah, it's far too much. And we've been saying this for the entirety of since we've started, since episode 1 of this show, is it's a day at work watching a AEW pay-per-view.
And for us, when we've got 2 companies to watch and something like 6 shows to watch in total, I have the time to watch a fucking 13-match card.
You say 2 companies, but I've started watching TNA lately, so we got.
There you go. And then you got NXT as well. I know it's the same company, but it feels like another one. And so by the time you get through it all, oh my god! And then you want to put a 13-match card in there as well. I understand that you've brought like 4,000 wrestlers contracts, TK. I understand that anybody in the world who wants to wrestle for you can pretty much say, "Hey, hook a brother up. Maybe I could do these ones and get a booking as well." Who knows? But you don't have to put every single person who has ever wrestled on every card except Miro, who's gone now. But that would have been a funny joke like 2 months ago. Like, because man, it's wild. Like it's crazy, and I don't want to spend this is way too long already. Spent harping on it because it pisses me off. But at the same time, like, as wrestling, like, you can't. This is the thing. Back to the other point before about the wrestling media, you can't give a 13-match card an A grade.
No,
it's too much. You can't give every match on that card A's and B's, because where is the piss break?
Yeah,
you need matches. Wrestling pay-per-views, PLEs, they follow a progression. They have up, down, like this. That's the way that it works. You know, there's a structure to it.
I always say that I reckon a good wrestling show is like a good song, right? You have that slow build, and then you drop it down, and then you just go straight up to the crescendo at the end. That's what it should be.
It's a movie, wrestling, right? It's the same that we teach in media. You know, it literally is the same thing. Is you follow a path, and that path goes like this, and it builds to a conflict, a crescendo here. When it hits here, it dips, and then we slowly build up to the finish, and that's where it ends. You know, like, and for wrestling, that's what you need. You need to have a show that does that. If you go all the way through, I'm going to be fucking bored by the end of it.
I've had shows, I've watched AEW pay-per-views, to be honest, where it has been a great show all the way through, but because my attention span has needed to be up here for the entire thing, I get halfway through and I want a nap.
Yep. And by the end of it, you're not even watching properly. I'm sitting, we're getting to the end of the show, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting, huh? Oh, that was good, actually.
Yeah, but you need it to drop off so that those big spikes again hit.
Yeah, you need, because you need those big moments, those real big moments, and you don't get them.
I tell you what, I've been going back and watching a bit of WCW in the last week since they started the WCW Vault on
YouTube.
YouTube. They were really good at pacing.
Absolutely. They put really shit wrestlers on in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
Then the
end. Even the veterans back then, they were pacing out matches really well where they had, a bit of excitement, build, let's drop it down.
And look, that's a lost art in wrestling too, is watching guys go through, and I'm going to sound like a wrestling boomer a little bit, but like taking a headlock, man, like pulling a headlock on and then bringing back to the chain again, like really taking the time. Like Bret Hart, look, I know boring, right? For a lot of people, they go, my God, Bret Hart, I'm so bored and so tired. But there's a reason that those matches, by the end of them, are considered classics, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much anyone that Bret's in is because at the start, it's kind of boring. It's chain. For the people who are purists, they love it. But for your average fan, it's like, okay, this bit happens, then we go here, and something happens in your brain about 2 to 3 minutes into like that start exchange. We all like, actually, I'm invested now.
Yeah.
And then that builds steadily from there. If you just come in and hit 30 super kicks in a match, you get the Usos at WrestleMania.
Or the Young Bucks.
Yeah, your mates. Your absolute mates. But yeah, like, I don't know. Like, when it comes to this could very well be the reason why the Cope Moxley match sucked a massive cock. It could literally be because of that, because you've gone through and there's these obvious 7-star matches that Meltzer's going to go for later.
Yeah.
Absolutely going to happen. By the way, if there's not at least a 7-star in this review, I'm going to eat my hat probably, but then I had to, it'd be a really nice hat, so I kind of don't want to. But like it's absolutely going to happen. But yeah, it's just, you can't do that continuously and then get to the end of the show and expect people to give a shit.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
Agree.
Like, they didn't when it came time for that match. Like, it was actually, looking at it on paper and even the content was perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But because it wasn't a 17-star match, it's dog shit. And then that's kind of that's frustrating to me,
And talking about big events and stuff, like, I completely forgot that we had Roadblock tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we've still got NXT Roadblock to come, which I think that's going to be a bit of a scene shifter as well, because usually NXT has a bit of a shake-up before WrestleMania.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, is because we've got a couple of big matches there as well, right? Like, that's Moose and Obafemi, isn't it?
Yeah, Moose and Obafemi for the NXT title, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. That's the way it works.
And then we've got the two ladies going head-to-head with both their titles on the line. Let's talk about Raw.
Do it. Let's talk about... Actually, no. Should we talk about Ospreay and Fletcher?
Okay, go for it.
That was good.
I was having to talk to somebody literally yesterday, someone who works at one of the big companies, and we were both gushing over how amazing Fletcher's been in this last year.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, we're really starting to get to see it now. Like, we're really starting to get to see the fruit of it. It was a ridiculous match. It was always going to be a ridiculous match. I think that anyone Will's been pretty vocal about saying, hey, when I am in a major company, I want to be the big guy. And he came out after Revolution, actually, and said, hey, my only real goal right now is to be the guy that carries the company. And that's what I'm doing right now, is putting myself in that position. Full credit to Fletcher. It could have gone either way, but somewhere in my deep, dark heart, I knew that we were probably not going to get Fletcher going over in this one. But it did take murder to put him down. So they took Tiger Driver 91. It took a hidden blade. It took that Spanish fly off the top of the fucking cage. Like, it took a lot.
I think one of our mates in our group chat said there was 7 attempted homicides during this pay-per-view.
yeah. And this has to be at least 3. Yeah. Like at least 3 of them were in this match alone. There's so much we could talk about the entire event itself. Like Omega, getting the dub, beginning their legacy, the belt collecting once more. There's so many little bits here that we could talk about. We could do a whole thing on this if that's what you all wanted to do. Let us know. I don't give as much of a fuck about it, honestly, at this point. The 13 matches has killed me. Because it's so much wrestling, man. It's just if we wanted to do an entire podcast on this, it'd be so long. So long. The whole thing.
You remember how long our podcasts used to run after we did an AEW one?
Like 2 hours. Like legitimately 2 fucking hours. And for the sake of it, it's just, it's wild. If you want to do that, let us know. And maybe as part of our rebranding gimmick, maybe we'll have a little bit of a something extra, somewhere extra. And maybe we can do that from there. I'm sure if you use your brain, you might figure out what I'm saying there. I don't even know. We haven't discussed that at all. But maybe that could be the thing later on. Let's talk about Raw. No, let's talk about SmackDown. And Phid, sorry, you have to do some more editing right now because finally we can say it again. Roll the LA Knight moment of the week.
Let me talk to you. Yeah.
But how good is it? Because, for the last 2 weeks in a row, we have seen major title changes on regular ass TV. First we got Io Sky, and this week, just coming, we got your boy LA Knight.
Yeah.
Getting that dub and getting the United States Championship back. It really feels like right now Paul Levesque is positioning the matches he wants on the card for WrestleMania. And it's really efficient and sort of strange and feels different to anything we've ever seen before, because it used to be a matter of, we're months and months and months in advance, or it's the night before, because Ken Shamrock has to defend the European Championship against the dog that Big Boss Man killed. Sometimes it was just like a one-off quick one of these ones, or it was a really long drawn out one. This feels like somewhere in between.
It feels to me like I don't want to say we're speed running the build to Mania, because I don't think we are.
Yeah.
But I do feel like we're in an exciting period of building to Mania.
I feel like it's a disservice to everything they're doing right now to call it a speed run, because I really do feel like that they have a plan and we're seeing that plan. But there are elements that needed to move, and they needed to move quickly.
I think the big part is for a lot of fans right now, it's probably feeling a bit foreign, because it's not what we're used to with WWE. And that's a good thing, because we are now back in an era where anything can happen in the WWE.
Such a name redacted voice right there. Anything can happen. But it's true, because, as we build to Mania, we're getting a lot of stuff that's coming out of the woodwork that we're like, well, hang on, what is, Joe Schmo doing on the pay-per-view? We don't know at this point. And we're slowly building those sticks up now. We had a big finish to Raw today that left a lot of questions up in the air. We had the pay-per-view as well, Elimination Chamber. We didn't talk about that, did we?
Yeah, we talked about the pay-per-view last week. Yeah,
we did talk about the pay-per-view last week.
Yeah, the senior episode was last week.
I forget.
Did pretty good numbers too.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm barely conscious apparently for half of it. No, well, yeah, it's good. We've got.
Well, before we move on from LA Knight, here's the only gripe I have with this is I feel like Shinsuke Nakamura's run has been a real disservice to Shinsuke Nakamura. I love the repackaging of him. I think he looks like a killer. I love every part of this, right? But the booking has really been a disservice to him. And there's a lot of people saying that was the worst run ever for the US title. Mate, you have clearly only watched WWE for the last 3-4 years because we could probably do a top 10 list of the worst US championship runs
it wouldn't
ever.
even be this.
And that's only in WWE. It's not even counting what was in WCW before that title moved over.
No.
But yeah, it's a shame. I love this repackaged Shinsuke, and it would have been really cool to see him have a better run. I feel like putting it back on LA Knight's a wee bit of a reset for the belt as well, and going, okay, this hasn't been working. Let's chuck it back on LA Knight and move on.
But it really was, I thought. Like, I really liked it. I thought it had a lot of potential to have a lot of legs. So maybe it's bigger and better for Shinsuke. I doubt it, though, because where does he fit if not in that mid-card right now?
Yeah.
He doesn't fit in the main event scene because there's 14 wrestlers in the main event scene right now.
Yeah, and you can't even put him in a supporting role in that main event scene because who do you put him with?
Exactly right. There's so much going on right now that you could push him to NXT, but that's kind of it right now.
Yeah.
Like, I can't. I'm really good usually at booking this. I don't see a path.
No, there is no path. There is no path. I don't see a path. But you were talking earlier about surprise endings and stuff over the last few episodes. Mate, this Hell in a Cell on Raw today. What's your review?
I think that the match was good.
And that's it. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Wonderful. I think that the match was good. I don't love the triple threat being the match. I don't love that.
I tend to agree, but I also don't see another way to do it. We also don't know at the moment. Like, this could be a situation where somehow Seth gets screwed out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought the match was amazing. I thought it was a great match. It felt like a grudge match. Both of those guys were throwing hands and they were connecting. I love the sassiness between the two, just being sarcastic dickheads to each other. Like, it feels like there's a genuine hatred between these guys, which makes it very real to watch. Punk is, I don't know if he's playing up the old man Punk thing or if it's a genuine, like, he's getting burnt out 10 minutes into these matches, but it was working. It made for good visual.
Yeah.
But that ending, right? I didn't see that ending coming. I think it's good to have the big dog back.
I do too.
I think we all sort of had questions. I had a whole bunch of questions last week when we never even brought up on the show. I was like, we don't have Roman back. What's Roman doing at Mania? This WrestleMania season, we don't have all of the Bloodline doing things together going into this Mania.
When Roman is on the screen,
Mania in 4 years, where the Bloodline, there is no united Bloodline on either side of the Bloodline.
Yeah, you're right. Like, it's like the Simpsons thing, right? When Roman's not on the screen, you should be asking, "Where's Roman?" Yeah, you know, like that. That's the kind of thing, because it's true. That being said, I think that there's still some pieces that need to move around. I think what we will find happen is that LA Knight will drop the belt to Jacob Fatu at WrestleMania.
Yep.
That is the most logical point forward.
Yep.
But then you've got so many other things. Does that make him the head of this blood pack table? You know, like, does that make him the boss? Then
or does he go off and be the lone wolf?
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot going on there. Obviously, once Tongaloa comes back, the real, true tribal chief, will see him take control of the entire company and win both championships. We all know that is going to happen. But until we get there, we've got a lot of stuff that we need to figure out because, we still have the question of The Rock. You can't forget about The Rock just because he hasn't been on TV for the last week, And already people are like, oh, when's Cena going to be here, et cetera, et cetera. I think that we're going to end up seeing a lot of big changes in the next 3 weeks. A lot of big changes. And I don't really know what the end result's going to be.
Yeah.
I can't wait for next week to see the reaction to Cena when he shows up.
Oh, 100%. And it's going to be interesting because it's going to be... this one's in Spain?
Yes.
Barcelona?
Barcelona?
Yeah. Which, how's that for that just working out well that he happens to be in Europe filming a movie at the moment? So
yeah. Belgium.
Oh, yeah, I think it might be Belgium. I think Barcelona might be
Barcelona
SmackDown.
just happened, didn't it?
No, Barcelona, I think, SmackDown this weekend.
Yeah, okay. Look, there's a B word. It's one of them for sure. I definitely know that.
They're in Europe. That's one country now. I'm sure that's not going to offend anybody, me just saying
alienated
all of Europe
so
is one
many
country.
people, all, including me, in like one comment.
Yeah. You're all the same.
You're all the same. Yeah. Well, I think there's going to be a really interesting reaction to him coming out. I also really, really like that. I don't know. Did you see that WWE have actually trademarked that name too?
What's that?
The Breaker Wish Foundation.
Oh, that's amazing.
That is so good. Such a ridiculous name. It makes me kind of happy.
I hope they don't call their faction there. This is actually the one thing I don't want them to name this faction.
No. Or maybe Travis Scott could go away and they could just be a tag team. Or maybe we just don't have Travis Scott. But that being said, we spoke about this last week.
I don't think we'll see Travis Scott again until Mania.
No. Yeah. I think we'll find that Cena will pitter-patter around the next kind of few shows up until Mania. And then from there, I hope he doesn't go away. So I hope he wins, for one.
Yeah.
I think he's going to win. And then I hope we get like the Cena wins lol run that we said we didn't want last week. Or the week before, sorry. I think that we're going to have to get that now.
Yeah.
And moving forward, I think that is the only way that it works. But we can't forget about The Rock.
And look, I think, like I said last week, I think that storyline is going to end up with being the fight for Cena's soul sort of angle by the end of the year.
Yeah. No, I think so too. And I think that it'll be him who ends up changing back to the side of good at the right moment and all the flowers and all that kind of stuff. That being said, man, I just want to bring this to the table. What happens if we get Rock Hogan at WrestleMania this year? What happens if we get in the ring and everyone's booing Cena and everyone's cheering Cody and then
they switch it halfway?
Not because of them, because of the crowd.
It could happen.
It could really happen.
Could happen.
Because they kind of want to see him win.
Yeah.
And if that happens again...
Cody is starting to tread that territory of white meat babyface that's held the belt for too long.
Mm-hmm. No, it's time.
We saw this 15 years ago in WWE with Cena. That's how he became the booed face.
Yeah. No, it is absolutely time. You need to do it now before it gets too stale.
And that could be the start of the Homelander arc.
If it happens at Mania, he needs to turn incredibly heel.
Oh,
he needs to be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Each and every single one of you, I believed in you. I gave my soul to WWE, to you, to each and every one of you.
I left my own company to be
here. Yeah. Like, it has to go that way. If it happens mid-match, especially. The only way I think they can mitigate that at this point is with The Rock.
Yeah.
Because if he's there being the general head that he is, it will make it make it a lot more difficult for them to turn like that.
Do you think we can ever turn Rock back, or does he need to go away again?
No, I think they could turn him back. I think they could turn him back if he makes the right decision at the right time.
Yeah.
That being said, they could easily double turn him if they need to. They could have Roman really take on the staunch heel point again.
Well, this is the thing today, like Roman's actions today, and this is a big part of what Roman's character has been. Roman's character has not changed since he went away and came back, but this was the most heelish I think we've seen Roman was today.
But he's never been a fucking face in this entire thing. He's just an arrogant prick.
Yeah.
And you cheer him because you wanted to cheer him over Cody. Like, there's no reason. There's nothing outside of it. He hasn't done nothing different. He comes out, he says, acknowledge me, wise man, give me my microphone. I don't care about no one else. None of that has changed.
Yeah.
At all. But the cheering is because he went away for a little bit because wrestling fans are super fickle like that. Like that's literally the only thing that's different about him is them. So I think at this point, it's reasonable that Roman remains the heel, and that we get maybe there's a point where the Cena and Roman are beating down Cody, and then The Rock hits a rock bottom on Roman, and that allows Cena to maybe get a bit of hope before it's turned around, and then Cena gets the win, and then you can build towards them. You know, like it's possible. There's a lot of weird ways to get around it, but I think it's possible.
One last thing on Raw. I know we don't normally acknowledge chat until after the show.
No.
Women's figure realness and chat on TikTok has just raised a question. Did we enjoy the Rhea Bianca EO segment today? And I do want to touch on this on the show because I thought it was a great segment.
Yeah. I'd like to touch on that, but I also like to touch on the one that preceded it.
Okay.
Because Naomi being Rikishi is exactly what I said would happen.
Oh, last weekend, yeah. It's exactly what you said was going to happen. It happened on SmackDown almost exactly how you predicted it.
I did it for The Rock.
I think the first thing I did was message you, and I was like, you called it.
Yep. Yeah, because, look, I think that we've got one layer left. I think that we've got that one layer left, and I think that layer is that it really was Bianca's plan.
Yeah.
I think that right now, as a team, they're playing like damage control over the situation. So they're like, all right, well, we'll go out there. I'll get mad at you. I'll cry. You'll cry. Everyone will cry. And then in the match, the eventual match, which will be Jade and Naomi, I think Bianca's going to hit the KOD, and that's going to be it. I think they're going to stand tall at the end, and that's going to be like the big reveal.
Yeah.
So I don't trust a single fucking thing that Bianca Belair says on television right now.
Yeah.
Personally. Not a single thing. So I like the segment as it comes across with Rhea and with Io. Io, I think what will end up happening from here is I think that we'll have a situation where Io feels like no one cares about Io.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, well, I want to fight you, and I want to fight you, which they did for the title change anyway. And then Io's going to be like, motherfuckers, I'm the champion. Yeah. How about I kick the shit out of both of you?
Yeah.
And I reckon we'll get a triple threat match.
You know what? I don't think in our card that we've put together so far, we have a solid triple threat match.
And I really hope that Io kicks the shit out of both of them.
Well, look, I like this little... I think it's an unintentional story, but I like this little story that Io is Rhea's kryptonite.
Yeah, I do too. I think it makes perfect sense. I really want to see that happen. And then... Because I don't think right now Rhea needs the belt. I think that they saw that I think they saw that and they're like, okay, right now you are above the championship. You don't need the championship to be like the big dog of the division. You don't need it. So what we can do is we'll get it off you and then we'll move on from there. I think it's smart. I think it makes the most sense. Put EO in a position of power. Get to a point where we get any number of women back into that fold. I mean, we could talk about our latest acquisition from TNA, maybe. Could be the one to take it from EO. You know, like there's and then you can set up the Muscle Mummy main event, you know, then you've got the whole reason for Jordan Grace to have that match with Rhea Ripley is if that happens, you know what I mean?
If we're having a Muscle Mummy main event, it needs to be Rhea, Jordan, and Jade.
It's the opposite of the Big E, big meaty men slapping meat. Like, you know, it's the opposite of that. We could definitely have that, and I think it would work well. But yeah, I definitely think that that's the path that we're going to go with leading into this. Or, you know what? It could be revealed earlier in the night, and that could be the catalyst as to why Bianca doesn't win.
Yeah.
Because Jay could come back out and get retribution, and then that will leave EO with Rhea Ripley, and then that will be the thing that happens. That makes sense to me. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I've got a new segment I want to introduce just right now, and I'm probably never going to come back to it.
All right. And this is news to me, but let's roll it.
MVP of the week.
Roll the MVP of the week. I mean, I have to make that graphic, actually. No, don't roll that. Let's just do it.
Lil Nate.
Yep.
That
is it every week? Is this every week? Because I'm in.
Yeah. He took 2 massive hits twice in 2 days in a row on this week. He took that mad hit during the Chamber. And then on SmackDown this week, he also took one.
He absolutely ate it this week on SmackDown.
Yeah. So MVP, and like you said, maybe we do this every week and it's always him. But
it could literally be always him.
He needs to be in the Hall of Fame at some stage, by the way. I honestly don't know. Have we got any refs in the Hall of Fame yet?
Surely. What about Teddy, right? Is Teddy in the Hall of Fame? Teddy's in the Hall of Fame, right?
I don't know. If he's not, he should be.
Is Teddy Long in the Hall of Fame? We need to check that.
Let's say yes. But yeah.
We need our own fact checker guy. We need someone that we can say that to, and they do it in the background, and then we go from there. I should know the answer to that, but I don't. I'm sure
Little Nate
Teddy
absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame eventually. He's had such a fucking awesome career.
Yeah.
I was explaining, my son was watching Raw with me, SmackDown with me over the weekend, and he was like, oh my God, is he still there? He was in WWE when I was a kid. And I was like, son, I was watching him on WCW when I was a kid.
Tim White's in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, he is too.
Yeah. Yeah. For the crazy, the kill yourself bloody segments he did, like, really in poor taste. But he would just like keep trying to like eat too many pills or yeah. It was a constant horrible segments that they made him do. Where Vince would have just been like, I think it's funny. You should do that. And it was just like the way that it went. But yeah, keen, absolutely keen. And like, you know, I like the segment. I like the idea about it. Maybe we'll workshop it. We'll figure out some more stuff in it. But I think it's a good start. I like that for sure.
Talking about workshopping things. This is the worst segue ever. It must be just about that time of the show.
Yep. Workshop? Are you talking about a different shop?
You mean WWE shop?
Mate, I'm going to tell you about this place called WWE Shop.
WWEshop.com.
You get wrestling merch there, right? And it's sick, right? You get some real good stuff. I have it here. No, don't do that. That's too much work. But in all honesty, as we've been saying for this whole half a year, it's been so cool to have a bit of a hangout affiliation with WWE Shop. If you buy something from WWE Shop, use our link in the description. It helps your boys out here on this podcast.
Absolutely. You can get like belts like this one, not that one, but you can get that one.
And don't get that one. That's from there.
You can get that one. You can get that one. You can get that one.
You can get nothing from mine.
You can get these Rey Mysterio masks.
Oh, who's that jumping out the sky?
Exactly. www.shop.com. Use the link in the bio.
We are very bad at ad reads, especially live ones, but you should do that. You should do that and do it now. It's nearly my birthday. Buy yourself something for my birthday.
Do you have a throne link?
I do actually, but let's not worry about that. That's a bit. I don't need to. Maybe I'll sell some bath water before we end up doing that. All right, let's just leave it a bit. Actually,
100%.
funnily enough, really weird side tangent. I almost was through my community on twitch.tv/the Warship. I almost was selling bean water. We had a concept where I would do a live stream and I would get cans of baked beans and a little kiddie pool, and we would pour it over me on the live stream, and then we'd sell the bean juice. It's because my community are all fucking creeps, all of them.
I used to love tuning into your streams. I can't wait for them to come back regularly.
Oh, yeah. No, me either. And that's going to happen too. Don't worry about that. That is on the way back. Excited for that too. But I think, aside from that, I got nothing else that I want to talk about.
No, we're good.
All right. Sick. Sounds good to me. That is the end of this episode, the penultimate version of Downunder the Ring that you're currently seeing, as it will be concluding for the next one. In the next one, we shall rebirth ourselves. I will be the doctor, but I will also be the baby. And we shall push from the canal, which is the vagina of this version of the podcast, kicking and screaming into the world.
I legitimately just had a look over at TikTok to make sure we didn't get a warning then.
Kick and scream into the world to present ourselves crying babies for you. Still maybe a bit of placenta on the shoulder. We shall come back bigger and stronger than ever before. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you a little bit more for watching live. And as always, we'll see you down under the ring.